Late last night, Liz Ferris made a comeback onto her channel to say she went from being in the cult that she was born into to joining the S.P.T.V Foundation cult. "I even bashed Mark and Claire," she says. "I bashed Amy, and you know what? I've apologized. I called Claire up and apologized for the horrible things that I said." She says that Aaron started a cult, but called it a foundation, and that he's competing with the Aftermath Foundation out of revenge. Liz calls Natalie a pathological liar and says Natalie and Aaron only care about making money. "Because when this is all said and done, guys, they're going back into real estate," she says. For 2.5 months straight, Liz gave all of her YouTube money to Natalie because Natalie was hurting, she says. Liz says last year Mark and Claire Headley had wanted to keep the attempted rescue of her dad as quiet as possible because we were doing a lot of stuff behind the scenes with police and private investigators. She says the only reason she agreed to come onto SPTV and tell her story early was that fellow second-gen Vanessa LaRose said that she was being followed, attacked, and treated like garbage because she went to Gold Base with Liz. A chatter says she doesn't think Aaron will get divorced because he'll have to show his finances. "I'm gonna leave that up for a minute," Liz says. Liz agrees that she only spoke on the phone with Tony one time for an hour. She says that's the only thing that came out of Natalie's mouth on Tuesday that was true. If Liz doesn't release the email and texts she says she has as proof, it's going to be very hard to believe her. Liz says she doesn't think everybody on the SPTV Foundation board knew it was a sham. "They hoped it was real," she says. "Now knowing everything that's out?" "Yeah." A chatter asks Liz if she knows if anyone on the SPTV Foundation board has used alternate names to distract and misinform SPTV fans. "Do they have aliases?" "Yes," Liz says. There was a group chat in Signal between Liz Ferris, Nora, Elijah, Liz Gale, Aaron, and Christy Gordon. "Natalie wasn't in it, it was just us," Liz Ferris says, because she'd been talking to Natalie every single day, sometimes twice a day. "I asked the group if it would be okay if I added Natalie to the group. Well, then something happened. Nora kicked me out. She went on this rampage about how I'm a liar," Liz says, referring to when she gave information to Zero Dark Tony. She says she and Nora have gotten past that now. "Aaron is the most sexist man I've ever met in my entire life. And I have met Tom Cruise, and I have met John Travolta," Liz says. She says it was vomit-worthy when Jenna said that DOA was more evil than her uncle, David Miscavige. Liz says everyone, including her, has made mistakes. Liz says she loved being on YouTube and connecting with her chat, but she didn't love the bullshit of SPTV and pretending to be friends. If you go back and see, look at who's pretending. Look at who's attacking people and who's actually trying to help people. Really look. Because I promise you it's not SPTV Foundation. Did they help me with a couple months of therapy? Yes. Thank you so much for helping me with a couple months of therapy. Thank you for twisting the knife and letting me know how much I did not matter to you. Liz says the SPTV Foundation doesn't care about the protesters or the second gens. I promise you they don't even care about the subscribers. The only thing they care about is the almighty dollar. A chatter asks if everybody on the SPTV Foundation board knew it was a sham. "I don't think they knew it was a sham," Liz says. "They hoped it was real. Now knowing everything that's out?" "Yeah." A major SPTV donor super chats Liz saying, "I am so sorry they treated you that way. It is wrong, and I won't be giving that part of the movement any more of my donations. I wish I had known how truly awful they have been to you." Liz says she and Carrie spent $400 on weed paraphernalia for Tony because he was in so much pain he could no longer smoke. After Carrie interjects, she says she's guessing about the amount of money they spent on that because she didn't save the receipts. She says Carrie also got a bonus and donated a lot of money to Natalie and Tony. Liz says gifting memberships to Natalie's channel made Tony smile, and he would say, "Is that all you've got, Liz?" So she kept doing it. "I put my family through a lot," Liz says. "In the moment, it felt like the right thing to do." Liz says before she joined the Sea Org, she got pregnant from rape. She says California had a law where her rapist could have applied for custody of that child and gradually received more and more custody rights, so she gave that child up for adoption. While she was going through a raunchy divorce from a wife who was good at cheating on her, Liz found out her biological son had died. Him and his adoptive mother, she says. She wants to call herself the mother, but says she was the incubator. I helped someone who wasn't able to have children, she says. Her child was 13 years old when he died. So when someone says they know loss, I know loss, she says. That was a direct dig at Natalie, who did a tearful video yesterday about the loss of her father, as well as her longtime love, Tony, several months ago. Natalie said Liz imposed upon her to come to Minnesota and stay at Natalie's house for a few days, right before the celebration of life. Liz says she's been told that somehow she invited herself to a funeral. I have some amazing texts that say, "Please come stay at my house. Oh my God, it will. Be so much fun. It'll be like a sleepover slumber party." I've never been so disgusted by some of these people in my entire life, she says. But her credibility is very strained, because Liz has viciously attacked Mark, Claire, and others on her channel more than once. Liz says she's watched Aaron attack women and treat people like garbage. Liz says when she was in the hospital with pulmonary embolisms in both lungs, she was dying. She was admitted to the hospital before Tony's funeral, and the only people she talked to were Pearl Snappy, Summer Savage, Doctor Who Heather, Selfless Self, and Alicia. She says Lara was the only SPTV person who called her while she was in the hospital for those 10 days. DOA showed up at the hospital in person when she couldn't walk 20 feet, Liz says. So if anybody wants to say he's not a great human being, I will stand up and I will punch you in the throat, she says. Natalie doesn't even like me, and that's okay because I can't stand her ass anymore, she says. I thought she was the coolest shit on the planet. She says Natalie only likes what Liz gave her. Liz says in the past few months, Natalie has gone to Hawaii twice, and she just checked going to Miami off her bucket list. Liz mockingly thanked Aaron for only showing pictures of himself in the pool, with Natalie and Jenna from the chest up. If I'm gonna go out, I'm gonna go out with a bang, she says. To be fair, Natalie went to Hawaii first for her father's funeral, and then again with Tony's sons to spread his ashes there. Those weren't just pleasure trips. Liz says she's so sick of SPTV, people pretending they're the nicest people on the planet. She says that a lawyer looked over the contract the S.P.T.V. Foundation expected her to sign to get another month of therapy, and that lawyer told her that if she said anything to embarrass the foundation or one of its board members, the foundation could come after her for all of the money it set aside for her, including the shots, which they did not pay for, she says. Liz says her viewers and Feral Cheryl helped her get those SGB shots. The S.P.T.V. Foundation paid for Nora's shots. Liz says she's glad that Nora is doing amazing, but Nora didn't have to jump through the hoops that she did to get the shots. S.P.T.V. did cover her shots, Liz says. Not mine. I couldn't even get 6 months of therapy. Liz says she has not talked to Marilyn whatsoever, but she says that she loves me. She says Marilyn has not reached out to her, but she has talked shit about Pearl Snappy, who's been there for the victims of Louis Repetto. I will say Louis Repetto, because I got to see things that I should not see. I got to witness things that I should not witness, because some people had had some horrible things happen, and Aaron didn't think that people on his channel would give a shit, she says. Aaron said that no one who watches his channel would care about what Louis was doing. Liz asked everybody to put a 1 in the chat if they know anybody who's been assaulted. Liz says there's not a lot of accountability. Liz says there have been times when she has been screamed at to the point where she didn't know if she could continue being here on this earth. Now, I get to be told that I somehow invited myself to a funeral. Liz says her lawyer could not even find the S.P.T.V. Foundation's EIN number. Liz says Liz Gale, who resigned from the S.P.T.V. Foundation board earlier this week, couldn't get the EIN either. In a live stream on Saturday, Liz Gale had told her viewers she would try to get answers about the EIN number and the contract that the S.P.T.V. Foundation expected Liz Ferris to sign. In her resignation video, Liz Gale said that she had started to ask some hard questions about the foundation, and she wasn't getting any answers. Don't be fooled, Liz Ferris tells SPTV fans. You're not stupid. You're not delusional. You don't need to bump someone's ego, especially Natalie and Aaron. They don't need any more ego. Their heads are so big they could float to the fucking moon. Liz Ferris says she likes Liz Gale and reveals that Liz Gale was one of the board members who voted for her to get help. From my understanding, a lot of people had no idea that there was a new clause that they could come after the people, she says. In response to a chatter who tells Liz Ferris she's showing no proof, Liz says people can reach out to her through email. I've got tons of screenshots, she says. You want emails? I've got an email where she actually says how excited she is that I'm gonna stay at her house. But somehow I invited myself, right? Stop being fooled, she says. You're not stupid. 240,000 people are not stupid. They have to know that he's an egomaniac. They have to know that she's just as bad. The only difference is that he'll assault women while she'll put them down to the point where they don't want to be here. I'm so sick of people grifting, Liz says. She says someone on S.P.T.V. was creating a new catastrophe because they needed one to get more donations. That's disgusting, she says. I just want to get my dad out. I just wanted to let people know what happens behind those walls. Hopefully, Liz will come to understand that she has asked fans to give her money many times too, and she hasn't always made smart financial choices. Liz says Natalie and others on S.P.T.V. are trying to make her out to be a giant liar and punch down on her. The protesters are the ones who aren't being supported by S.P.T.V., she says. They're regular people. They've gone through hell, she says. Liz says she's watched a piece of Pearl Snappy's light fade since she started protesting, and the same goes for Selfless Self. Liz says Lara is out there doing the real work. She promises people that Natalie only cares about herself and that she has blocked so many people just for mentioning Liz's name. Just like Marilyn, she says. Liz says that when Marilyn came back to her channel after cyberbullying Ellie, Liz was in Marilyn's chat, ready to send her a comment saying that she was so proud of Marilyn. Marilyn was doing an AMA that night, and Liz saw someone ask what Marilyn thought about Liz Ferris and the S.P.T.V. Foundation. That comment was deleted. Liz tells Marilyn she's still a mod on her channel. You might want to remove that, Liz says. At around the 10300 mark, Liz imitates Marilyn doing her seal clap and saying, "More friends," when someone gifts a membership or joins her channel, and it's hilarious. People got blocked permanently from channels for having beliefs, she says. Please don't be victims. Please don't let them manipulate you. Please don't. Otherwise, you're just gonna end up like me, and it's a human punching bag thing. Liz says she saw a post from Reddit that said Aaron's ideal org board for the foundation would just be him. She thinks Aaron wants Jenna and Natalie with him on the board. She says she doesn't have any bad words to say about Jenna. I don't know her, she says. I've never had a conversation with her, but I knew of her. Carrie reminds Liz that she sat across from Jenna at breakfast in Los Angeles, but Jenna didn't speak much. But months ago, Liz said that Jenna was much nicer than Leah Remini. She referred to Leah as a bitch and said that Jenna was prettier than Leah. Liz actually stood up and saluted Aaron on her livestream, thanking him for everything that he has done. Serge is in Liz's chat saying, "It's called silence. In the face of abuse is complicity. Stand, speak, and be the change." I hope Serge will speak out more clearly too. Liz says when Natalie suggested that she come to Minnesota a week later, "Carrie was having surgery, you asshole, and you knew it." Liz says Natalie then tried to run with the narrative that she saved Liz's life by uninviting her to the funeral. Liz says she thought she and Tony were close because they chatted all the time. Liz was in Natalie's chat constantly. A chatter tells Liz they were disappointed to see how Aaron treated her and Lara. How you saw him talk to us. Multiply that by 10, and that's how he talked to us behind closed doors, Liz says. A chatter remembers Natalie saying that Tony loved Liz and that he thought she was wonderful. Liz agrees and says she thought Tony was amazing. Liz says she's rewatched the livestream a couple of times where Aaron bullied her and Lara. She says she might even release it. After this live stream ended, Liz did make that video public again. It's titled, "Oh What a Childhood," and Aaron joins the stream at around the 49:30 mark. Lara brings up Liz's shots at around the 37:45 mark. Very shortly after Lara asks who paid for Liz's shots, Aaron was in the chat demanding to be brought onto the live stream. Liz says she doesn't fault Natalie for her actions while planning Tony's celebration of life. "What I do fault her for is her actions since then," she says. "She didn't call me. I was in the hospital. They all knew." Liz says that Aaron would text Nora about what a horrible person Liz was and how she was attacking his work, knowing that Nora would rush to defend him. "Have you ever heard Aaron accept any accountability for anything ever?" Liz asks. Liz says the way Natalie talked about her Tuesday was very cold and calculated. "It was almost like she was trying to make her needle float," she says. Liz says she gets severe anxiety when she flies. "And I was gonna fly all by my goddamn self just so I could be there," for Natalie. "Thanks, Natalie, for the invite to your house. I'd rather sleep in a cardboard fucking box," she says. A chatter says that Pearl Snappy stopped him from going into the Austin org, and he owes her his life. A chatter says people go to a funeral to pay respect for the person who died. "They act like it's a party and invites were sent out," the chatter says. Liz says the funeral was turned into a meet and greet. Carrie adds they did that so they could put it on YouTube. Someone else says they would be ashamed to be seen going on multiple trips after being given $39,000 from S.P.T.V fans. "Mic drop," Liz says. Liz says she knows the names of the board members who voted to reject help for her, but she's not going to go over it because those votes were their opinion. "It was supposed to be majority rules, but then it turned into it had to be unanimous," Liz says. If it's true that the S.P.T.V Foundation is requiring unanimous support for grants, that's a very high bar. "I'm thoroughly disgusted by what they pretend to be doing," Liz Ferris says about the S.P.T.V Foundation board. "They pretend they want to help people. They pretend they want to help people get out. Aaron doesn't want Scientology to close, I promise." Liz says Aaron's making Scientology sound worse than it is in his P. Diddy coverage by trying to make it seem like P. Diddy did what he did because he knows Scientologists. "It's not. It's because he's a freak," Liz says. Liz says her liver enzymes are back to 16 when they used to be at 300. "So now I'm gonna live a long life," she says. A chatter says the people who have resigned from the S.P.T.V Foundation board need to call the state of Florida and get their names removed from the paperwork. Liz says she feels fantastic right now because she's just letting people know what really happened and what really goes on. She promises that Aaron and Natalie will continue to try to keep up the charade. "And that's fine," she says. "I got it out. I wouldn't piss on your ass if you were on fire. I got to say it." A chatter tells Liz that Tony loved her. "Tony did love me, and I loved Tony," Liz says. Someone else says it was obvious how much Tony loved it when Liz would make it rain with gifted memberships in Natalie's chat. Liz says that's because Tony knew Natalie would be taken care of. "That's the one thing that he asked me in that hour-long chat that we had," she says. Carrie interjects to say she heard Tony tell Liz to please make sure Natalie is okay. "I'm sorry, Tony. I cannot keep that promise, and that's sad to say," Liz says. "Eat more pizza." Now sends a super chat that Liz is right. He used to mod for Aaron. Liz says that she's tired of people pretending and hurting people. "Welcome to the club," she tells Marilyn and others. "I hope you all get to experience this." She says she hopes everyone will come out and talk about what they've experienced. A chatter asks how S.P.T.V Foundation board member George LaBanca was close enough to Tony to speak at the funeral when they had only met once, but Liz and Tony weren't even that close, even though they communicated every day. "Just another hole in the story," the chatter says. Liz agrees. Liz tells viewers to show some love to DOA and Lara. "They're not trying to get one over on you," she says. A chatter says in all caps that they weren't saying anything about anyone, but they got removed from Marilyn's chat anyway. Liz says anyone who mentions her name in Marilyn's chat gets removed. "And if you didn't say my name, "It's because you support us," Liz says. Someone tells Liz it's not up to her to take care of Natalie and that it's supposed to be mutual in a true friendship. She says Liz's promise to Tony can be void with no guilt. Liz says she doesn't have guilt. Carrie says she still has guilt because of the conversations that she had with Tony and how much I knew that you cared about both Natalie and Tony. When a chatter asks Liz to keep sharing, Liz says she doesn't know if she's going to do that. She says she will never support the S.P.T.V Foundation, but she will support any other foundation. A chatter says the people who have been blocked or removed from chats need to unsubscribe from those channels, and Liz agrees. A chatter says, "So many of us have been shamed, ignored, and blocked for trying to make valid points. It's so frustrating." Liz says that didn't happen on her channel. "If you cannot trust someone, don't be subscribed to them," Liz says. "But I promise you, I did not lie about anything." DOA puts hearts in the chat for Liz, and she tells him she absolutely adores him. Selfless Self says the S.P.T.V Foundation board members personally benefited because their reputations were boosted when they pretended to be magnanimous and generous. Liz says it's up in the air whether this will be the last video on her channel.